This is your need to know. This is your need to know.
Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to get up close and personal with whales. You guys sent in some excerpts from Philip Hoare's book, Leviathan, or The Whale.
It's an incredible read.
Yeah, and it's not your typical, straight science book or anything,
Right, it's not just a dry textbook.
Yeah, Hoare, weaves in his own personal stories about his fascination with whales, but then also dives into history and literature and mythology.
He even gets into some really interesting philosophical stuff.
Exactly. So get ready to uncover some seriously captivating insights about these magnificent creatures.
You know, one of the things that really struck me about this book is the way Hoare uses his own personal journey as a framework for understanding our broader fascination with whales. He actually starts by talking about his childhood fear of swimming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which, might seem kind of counterintuitive for someone who ends up being so obsessed with these massive ocean creatures.
It makes you think, though, why whales of all things? Why not, something more land-based if he was afraid of water?
Right, and he kind of addresses that. He talks about these vivid childhood memories, almost being born underwater, and his father working on transatlantic cables.
Oh, so he had these early connections to the ocean, even if he couldn't swim.
Exactly. It's like these subconscious links that kind of drew him in despite his fear. And, Hoare uses that fear to explore this complex relationship humans have always had with whales. We're totally mesmerized by their power and size, but also low-key terrified by their otherworldly nature, right?
It's so true. It's like they embody both our fascination and our fear of the unknown.
Exactly.
So it makes you wonder, is Hoare's journey about him confronting those primal human instincts, not just his own personal fears?
That is such a good question, and it's definitely something that resonates throughout the book. But speaking of confronting fears, let's talk about the big kahuna, the emperor of whales, the sperm whale.
Yes, the sperm whale, the one with the somewhat misleading name, to say the least.
Right, it's not actually what they originally thought it was.
I have to admit, when I first learned that spermaceti, that waxy substance in their heads, wasn't actually what early whalers thought it was, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. It's amazing how those kinds of misconceptions can become so ingrained in our language,
Totally. And what's even more mind-blowing is the actual function of spermaceti. It plays a critical role in their echolocation, which is how they navigate the deep ocean, find food, and even communicate with each other.
It's like they have this built-in sonar system that's way more sophisticated than anything humans have been able to create. It really makes you appreciate how amazingly adaptable they've become to their environment. But Hoare also talks about some of their other, let's say, quirky adaptations.
Oh, yeah.
How their eyes are positioned so they can't actually see directly in front of them.
That's right. Their vision's split into two halves, almost like they're constantly looking out of the corners of their eyes.
Wow.
Some scientists think it could be an advantage for hunting, letting them scan a wider area above and below them for prey.
So their evolutionary path, prioritize different senses for survival.
Exactly.
It really makes you rethink what good vision even means.
It challenges our whole perspective. And that's one of the big things Hoare keeps coming back to, how much we still don't know about these creatures.
And probably never will, right?
Probably not. He gets into their social structures, how they form these tight-knit pods, and those crazy deep dives they do.
Oh, yeah. They can hold their breath for, over an hour.
Yeah. And they can dive to depths of over 3,000 feet.
It's mind-boggling. Makes those old stories about them battling giant squid down in the abyss seem a little less far-fetched.
Right.
Speaking of whaling, Hoare doesn't shy away from the dark side of our history with whales. He describes Nantucket in the 19th century, this, the capital of the whaling industry, and it wasn't pretty.
No, not at all. He compares the conditions on those whale ships to slave ships.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, cramped quarters, back-breaking labor, constant threat of disease or injury. It was brutal, even for those who chose to be there.
Wow, that's a far cry from the romanticized image we often get from books and movies.
Definitely. One story that really hit me was about this woman who disguised herself as a man just to join a whale ship, all to find her runaway lover.
Wow. Imagine the desperation. Back then, women had so few options. She must have been incredibly determined.
It's a testament to the power of love, but also, a reminder of how limited women's choices were back then.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't talk about whaling without mentioning Herman Melville. Hoare reminds us that Melville himself worked on a whale ship, the Acushnet, which was like major inspiration for Moby Dick.
Oh, absolutely. And Melville's personal experience gives the novel so much more depth. It's not just an adventure story. It's this deep reflection on humanity's obsession with conquering nature.
And that fine line between ambition and, madness, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk about the hunt itself. How does Hoare describe that whole process of actually chasing down a whale?
It was pretty intense. Hoare talks about, you're on this cramped wooden ship getting tossed around by the waves for weeks, maybe even months.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the lookout shouts, "There she blows!" And everyone just springs into action.
Total adrenaline rush, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, a mix of excitement and fear. And then the chase is on.
It's amazing to think they did all this with, hand-thrown harpoons and lances.
I know, right?
No sonar, no fancy equipment.
Just pure grit and, well, a whole lot of luck, too, I'd say.
It must have been terrifying for everyone involved, both the whalers and the whales, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. And once they actually harpooned a whale, that's when the real danger started.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the whale would often fight back, dragging the boats for miles trying to escape.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just about strength either. It was a battle of wills.
Yeah, definitely a life or death struggle for those whalers.
For sure. But even when they were successful, the work was far from over.
Right.
Hoare describes the whole process of, what's it called? Flensing.
Flensing, yeah.
Basically butchering the whale right there at sea. He doesn't sugarcoat it at all.
I bet it was pretty gruesome.
Oh, incredibly. He compares it to, peeling an orange, but the orange is the size of a bus.
And you're doing it on a rocking ship, covered in blood and blubber.
Exactly. It really gives you a sense of the sheer scale of these creatures and the brutality of the whole industry.
Yeah. Definitely a stark reminder of what people were willing to do for profit. And it wasn't just the oil they were after either, right?
Oh.
Hoare talks about how whale products were used in all sorts of things back then.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
The lean and corsets, umbrellas, even buggy whips.
It's kind of disturbing how integrated whale products were into everyday life.
Yeah.
We usually think of whaling for lamp oil, but it went way beyond that.
It's a reminder of the massive impact these creatures had on human society. Both good and bad, I guess.
Definitely. And that impact hasn't entirely gone away either.
That's true.
Hoare mentions how sperm oil was even used in space exploration and military technology because of its unique properties.
Wow, that's pretty wild. Talk about a legacy.
It's fascinating, right? These totally different worlds, the deep ocean and outer space, connected by this one substance, it really highlights the ripple effect that whaling has had.
But thankfully, things started to change, right? Hoare talks about this shift towards conservation.
Right. The invention of the explosive harpoon in the 20th century, well, it was a game changer, but not in a good way.
Yeah, it made whaling way too efficient.
Exactly, and it led to this devastating decline in whale populations.
Hoare tells some really heartbreaking stories, like about this blue whale mother that took 9 harpoons and 5 hours to die.
It's hard to even imagine.
Yeah, it's tough to read those accounts without feeling a sense of, responsibility for what happened.
Totally.
This is your need to know. This is your need to know. This is your need to know. This is your need to know.
But Hoare also talks about, the rise of organizations like the International Whaling Commission.
Oh, right, and all the debates about sustainable whaling?
It's a really complex issue with strong opinions on all sides.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where Hoare's approach is so valuable, I think. He doesn't shy away from the complexity.
No, he presents both sides of the argument, right?
Exactly.
Those who think some whale populations have recovered enough for limited hunting, and those who say, no way, we need a complete ban.
It forces you to really think about the ethical and ecological implications.
No easy answers, that's for sure. But it's not all doom and gloom, is it? Hoare also talks about the rise of whale watching as a way to appreciate these creatures without, harming them.
Absolutely. It's like this shift in our relationship with whales from exploitation to appreciation.
Yeah, it's about connecting with them on their own terms in their natural environment.
Right. And he even throws in some humor here with a whale-watching glossary.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, with terms like Dutch boys for unexciting whales and Finback Alley for an area known for fin whales.
That's kind of funny.
It lightens the mood a bit, Shows that even in a book about such a serious topic, there's still room for wonder and joy.
I love that. Speaking of wonder, the story about the rescue of Sockeye, the entangled humpback whale, really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one.
It shows how far people are willing to go now to protect these animals.
Definitely. It speaks to this growing recognition of whales as sentient beings worthy of our care.
But even with all our efforts, whales still remain a mystery, right?
Right. Despite all our scientific knowledge, we're still figuring them out.
We're just scratching the surface when it comes to their communication, social structures, their intelligence in general.
And Hoare really pushes the boundaries of what we think we know.
Oh, yeah. In what way?
He says it was like transformative, like this overwhelming sense of awe, but also vulnerability.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Just picture it. You're face to face with this creature bigger than a school bus in its own world. It's going to be humbling, right?
It definitely makes you rethink your place in the grand scheme of things.
Totally. And it gets back to that mystery surrounding whales, Like we've learned so much, but they still hold so many secrets.
Hoare mentions this crazy story about the Monongahela, a whale ship that supposedly caught a sea serpent back in the 19th century.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the ship was lost at sea before it could bring back its prize.
So we'll never know for sure.
It's like something straight out of Moby Dick.
Right. But it also kind of shows how obsessed we are with these sea monster stories.
The creatures that lurk in our imaginations, and maybe even in the real world, right?
Exactly. Makes you wonder if there is still undiscovered species out there, things that, totally defy what we know about marine biology.
And it's not just about new species either, right? Like, our whole scientific understanding of whales has evolved so much over time.
Oh, absolutely.
Hoare points out that back in the 19th century, some scientists actually thought whales were fish.
Can you believe that?
It's wild. It just shows how much our perceptions can change as we learn more.
We went from seeing them as these monstrous sea creatures to recognizing them as intelligent social animals.
With families and complex communication systems.
Yeah, we're only just starting to crack the code, really.
And that brings us back to Hoare's central question. If whales are capable of all this, what else don't we know about their consciousness?
Right. Do they feel emotions the way we do? Do they have their own forms of art or culture?
It really makes you think.
It challenges our whole anthropocentric view of intelligence.
And I love how Hoare leaves us with more questions than answers,
It's not a definitive guide to whales. It's an invitation to keep exploring.
So before we wrap up, let's recap some of the highlights from our deep dive into Leviathan, or the whale. We talked about the interesting origin of the sperm whale's name.
And that woman who went undercover just to find her lover.
Talk about dedication. And we even touched on the surprising use of whale oil in space exploration.
It's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
If you're interested in whales, the ocean, or just great stories about human ambition and our connection with nature, definitely check out Philip Hoare's book. It's a read that'll stay with you long after you finish it.
It really will.
So that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored Leviathan, or the whale. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a new and fascinating topic. But until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those big questions.
This is your need to know. Secrets are key. Hey, get wide awake. Lost in the deep, moving our feet. Hey, get wide awake. Some kind of dreams, bursting at the seams. Hey, get wide awake. In this endless stream, nothing's as it seems. Hey, get wide awake. How we're built to lie when the sun lights high. Hey, get wide awake. In the days we ride to the other side. Hey, get wide awake. Electric hum inside the drum. Hey, get wide awake. To the rhythm we succumb as the night becomes. Hey, get wide awake. Hey, get wide awake. Feel the techno quake. awake. Hey, get wide 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 awake. Neon lights gleam in a lucid dream. Hey, get wide awake. Baseline screams breaking at the seams. Hey, get wide awake. Frequencies collide. No place to hide. Hey, get wide awake. In this endless tide where our worlds collide. Hey, get wide awake. Hey, get wide awake. Feel the techno quake. Hey, get wide awake. Let the rhythm shake. Chromatic flow in the afterglow. Hey, get wide awake. Moving to and fro. Let your spirit go. Hey, get wide awake. Synthetic hearts playing the parts. Hey, get wide awake. In the beat that stars where the rhythm charts. Hey, get wide awake. In the endless night where the stars align. Hey, get wide awake. In the pistol tight in the stars so bright.